This story starts out with a child offering herself, her body, to her stepfather. Her mother only ever wanted to be loved and found solace in a bottle, not really within the man's arms that she married. And her two children from her prior marriage, her daughters, subject to this evil man, while she absorbs her sorrows in a bottle and all her self-hate inflicted upon her offspring. One day, this man's thirst offers itself up to a child. And as she cries out, "No, don't touch me," her sister walks in, realizing that there's no other solution in her mind, offers her body instead of the stepfather having sex with the sister. This little girl was my mother. I don't know how long she existed in a life with her mother beating her drunk and her father having sex with her in order to try to keep her sister safe. But she was inflicted with deep pain and sorrow. This woman met my father. My father was a pedophile who married a woman who only ever wanted to be loved as her mother. The two of them, this man and this woman, Clifford and Bertha, had Regina. And that's me. And Regina was born ever only wanting to be loved and accepted as her mother before her and her mother's mother before her. And what she got was the same: molestation, indifference, shame, and oppression. A disease spread by the woman who bore her. Now, as I got older, I started to think, what's with this? Biblically, I thought perhaps a curse. Why so much addiction and pedophilia within my bloodline? And how, most of all, how in the world do I stop it? No freaking way. That's where I was coming from. So Regina, who ever only wanted to be loved, fell into addiction and watched her life spiral out before her. All kinds of different types of lifestyles. I wouldn't want a mansion if I didn't have to. And when I was done with my self-inflicted pain and chaos because I didn't receive what I was really seeking, which was love, not knowing that I needed to love myself. But how does one do that coming from a perception with such chaos, such volatile embraces? What do you have to hold on to? Well, I'll tell you, you have a knot. You got a knot that you want to untie. You got a knot so big that it's choking you from the inside out. And all you want to do is unravel it. And it looks like madness. Did you ever get a knot in some yarn or a chain and it takes you forever to try to get it out? And that there's times when it's just such an impossible feat, it's just like, forget it. You might try to cut pieces out and you might just chuck it. It was that kind of ball. It wasn't moving. No matter what I did or where I went, I spent years in and out of institutions, on medications, in and out of rooms they called Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and therapy sessions, medications, churches, and self-help groups. And it didn't work. But I kept trying. I finally met someone, and I was scared to death. I thought to myself, oh my God, I cannot pick a pedophile for my children. Standing at the brink of my mind, all I ever asked the universe was to be free from all the pain I was in and to have some understanding as to why, to give me comfort. Maybe I could help it not happen to someone else. Such pain and distortion, such conversations people don't speak of. But it's here, and we live with it. We live with pedophilia. We live with having to make that choice when we pick our mates. I can tell you, I was saved by grace. That curse didn't reach me there. My husband is not a pedophile. However, I swung a little bit to the left. He is a control freak. I want to show you how the energy swings. How, in hopes that we not invest our vibration in one thing, we can cause an imbalance, swinging the pendulum way in the other direction. And my hopes to make sure that I had someone that had self-control, I picked someone that was obsessed with control. Where inside, I was afraid of governing myself. I picked someone I knew would lord over me, making me not responsible for my choices. Now, was that in my unconscious mind? My mother's bedroom scene with her stepfather offering herself, being accountable for this man's sin he was going to inflict on her sister? Or her mother being angry at her as if she was chosen for something special, having to have sex with her stepfather, and her mother not being able to stop it because she had a need for affection. So none of that was happening to me. And here I was in a marriage with an obsessive man. And inside, I was a storm. And all the stuff that I had dealt with in my life still inside me, like a big ball, a knot of yarn, or a buckled chain. I've always had a will for more. I've always had a need to understand what's going on around me, analyzing everything from the time I was a child. My question, what makes men so crazy, so lustful, so evil, that they'd be willing to quench that thirst on an innocent child, releasing their fluids all over a blank slate? What entity does that? I knew even then that it was something inside of the man. I observe how these people seem to be okay interacting with everybody in society, and then boom, when no one was looking, they snapped into this lustful, disgusting, pulsing meat sack. And in their vision, an innocent child, for them to wipe their scrotum on. Yes, it's a nasty business. I want you to hear how it's a nasty business. So how does this thing follow people and become a curse? I'm telling you, get that white Jesus, Zarapis, off your church walls, off your home walls, off your bookmarks in your Bibles right now. I'm going to give you some grown-up talk. We're talking about energy and vibration. If I put you in a room with an angry dog, you're going to feel some kind of way about it. If I put you in a room with a giggling gal, you're going to feel some kind of way about it. If I put you near a calm lake with some trees and there's ducks floating by, you're going to feel some kind of way about it. These are vibrations. They're frequencies. They're places where we put ourselves, where we put things at. We place ourselves at the lake. We place ourselves in the room with the barking dog. We place ourselves in the room with the giggling gal. It's the what, the intent. What made that girl giggle? What made you place yourself by the lake? Why? What is that dog doing barking? What's the intent? What's the intent of your vibration? If my intent is to pray and to better myself and to learn to live by a set of laws that I can pass down to my children, then that is my intent. My intent was never to kneel in front of a pedophile, a murderer, and a thief, a rapist. While my spirit is wide open, crying and praying and sweating and pleading for God to come down and help me, to enter me, and do good by me and mine, my bloodline. Knelt on a floor, spirit open, in front of a rapist and a pedophile. Now you know. Serapis. Pope VI, his son. Look it up. This is blasphemous. This is a signal. This is bad intent. I know it wasn't yours, but now you know that it's there. I believe that this had a lot to do with the pedophilia that has entered our churches and our homes through the Christian church. The kind of Christians I grew up with that could never get their lives together, could never stay away from their evil lusts and thirsts completely, could never really tell the truth about what was going on in their homes, in their hearts. It's in the heart. We all want acceptance. We want only ever to be loved and accepted. We live by the heart and we won't admit it. We live through our desires. We live by our will and things we open ourselves up to. We open ourselves up to our desire, and it sends out a vibration. And those things that we want and that we know that are deep inside of us attract those things to us. In the same way that I married an obsessive, controlling man, willed myself away from pedophilia, but into the direction of oppression on many other levels. It's accountability and realizing what we're doing. What is living really all about? We must learn to look at ourselves and not be so personal about it. We're sick. There is a deep sickness. There is sex everywhere. But don't you dare talk about it. They're having sex education in school and not telling you the content or the days that they're having it on. You come home and your child told you they just had sex education. You sit down and watch TV, and there's all kinds of nudity and lewd acts our children are exposed to. They're being programmed to fit someone else's idea. In the same way that my mother and my mother's mother was programmed to fit someone else's idea of what they should be as women. so low that they were willing to accept any kind of love, to expose their daughters to pedophilia. So needy for any kind of love that we'd accept anyone's interpretation of God himself and put that man's nasty face up on the wall and kneel and pray and sweat and cry and plead before him. No image is necessary in order to love the Creator. None. Start by loving self and take them things down and recognize the curse. If you break the home, you break everything. If you break the heart and bring such shame and such filth into our sheets and our hearts, our wombs, our wombs, our children, such blasphemous filth, such lies still being upheld in this day and time. And we wonder why. And with all the multimedia, sitcoms, and with all the stuff that we got going on, we can't seem to get this message across to one another to where it's eradicated. Can we not even keep our children from our own filth and take responsibility for it? No, but don't look there. Let's just say that we don't come from those people and we don't know anything like that and how horrible it is. And then we can mosey along until the next vibration and act like certain things don't exist. I'm telling you why that's there. I'm telling you why it's necessary to be accountable and pay attention to things that hurt. Our desire to be accepted and to be loved is getting us into a lot of trouble. Whether you're a woman or a man, it makes no difference. It makes no difference what race you're from. The desire to be accepted and loved is being marketed. And it's a powerful thing. You know, you die without those two things. Everything needs a place. Or it gets disarranged, dicey, ticky, fearful. Unauthentic, angry, vengeful, and overly righteous. Indeed. There's a sickness. So I'm looking at the sickness, while I'm looking at it, I see men talking about the state of the world and how evil it is. How evil, they will admit how evil man is, how evil the world is, and that because of that reason, women, because we're more vulnerable, should cover ourselves up. And why should we cover ourselves up? Because the man's eyes are lustful. The man's heart is lustful. And to protect ourselves, we should cover ourselves up. If a woman is dressed a certain way, it is her fault if something happens to her, because the man cannot help it, that he has certain desires. It's just the nature of things. She should cover herself. Well, this is my godly covering. For that, I am tired of hearing. The Creator has covered us. Men need to take responsibility for their own eyeballs, for their own lustful hearts, and women too. Their demonic spirits, they can be checked, but not by covering up the opposing thing that you're attracted to. It doesn't work that way. you're always going to be attracted to it. Just because you cover it up, you still know it's there. It's inside of you. For instance, if my need to be controlled is inside of me, then how can I blame someone else and tell them that I don't want them to control me? How can I blame someone else for controlling me if it's in my nature and my desire to want to be controlled? How do you design a world where everything is sex and lustful and tainted and women are hurt so viciously, and then tell them if it happens it's because they didn't cover up when the lust is in your own heart and your rule in the world? So I say, men rule the world, and why are they doing it if they can't control their own penis? Isn't there something wrong? When are we going to be accountable? And we can't even learn to take Serapis off of our church walls. That's a pedophile, a rapist, a murderer, and a thief, whose father was the sixth pope. Should tell you something. Then are we responsible enough to be accountable for anything else? When we're just sending our children and our wives to the slaughter. And our husbands opening them up to that pedophilic spirit after they pray, sending them home, and you go to work. It's a demonic presence. Making ourselves open and available for the possibilities. For that vibration to enter up into our homes. Please hear me. These things can be annihilated by accepting ourselves, really taking a look at the decisions that we're making. When we pick mates, when we say that we love ourselves, and when we blame others for the predicament that we're in, are we willing to look in that dark place into our own hearts and figure out if it's just our nature to be sick, or if we can find out what's making us sick and remove that nature from us? I mean, do you want to be sick or not? And if not, there's a solution. Start looking for it. Start looking at it. Start going through the pain and the tears and all that yucky stuff. Fish through it. Swim through it. Wade through it. And when we get to the other side, that's when you can look at the demon and know exactly what it is and not be fearful of it. Not try to look away from it and act like it's not there. Our children are still being hurt. Our husbands and wives are still being corrupted. And there's many prayers that are not being answered. And I don't have to tell you why anymore, do I? My pain is deep. Looked at this a long time. I could turn this inside and out many different ways, but I'll stick with those points right now. That picture and the fact that our society is corrupted and polluted with sexual and corrupt images and distortions of what sexuality, love, kindness, tenderness is all about. And they package it and market our vulnerabilities and our need and desire to be loved and accepted. You can wear this. You can smell like that. You can do this. You can eat that. You can hang out here. If you have that piece of jewelry, if you have that education over there, if you can just do the class stratus, if you can be sexy enough, if you go to church enough, if you act righteous enough, if you jump into another box in some other religion and it's not Christianity, if you can just find some place to fit in, like clockwork, everything will be fine. But don't think for yourself. I want, I need. For us to pay attention. This is real. We are being slaughtered spiritually. Just being lazy and holding on like a dog with a bone to old ideas that are breaking our children down and growing up in them up into mothers that can't even be mothers. Just feeding their children back to the same corruption that broke them. And anybody who doesn't have it going on is just like running, trying to keep it from happening to them. But guess where a lot of you are going? Bumping right back into the same walls, whether it's, not realizing the mind control that's going on. It's surrounding us. Like I said, with the schools, and the media and the churches. It's all one idea. A distortion to feed off of your sexual energy, your desire and your need to be wanted, loved, and accepted. I started looking at me. Things can get so twisted inside, you have no choice but to just love yourself if you want to live. That's how bad it can get. That distortion tried to take me out of here, and I'm still here. And I'm here to tell you. Cut it down. Cut it out. Untangle it. Look at it. Address it. Talk about it. Get mad about it. Throw it out. Figure out what it is and why. What curse or distortion, vibration is following you around? And when you figure it out, don't walk away from it, because that's the demon. That's the enemy. That's the real thing we need to be looking at and attacking. So, your demon may not be my demon. I pray to the Creator that it isn't. Perhaps it isn't pedophilia, or the oppression of control on the level of being a woman. Maybe yours is some other, food. You're lustful with food. Do you hoard? Get high off of arguments, being self-righteous. We all got something, and there's something behind it. And just, start to look at it and check it out and see what the primary thing is that might be hanging over you, like that picture, as a symbol that leads to a lot of other things that I was talking about. Oppression as a symbol that leads to a lot of other things that I'm talking about. So follow your own vibration and frequency into your own rabbit hole, and let's start to deal with some of these shadows, these dark places, and expel them. There's nothing to be afraid of once you expose where it came from. That it's a corruption, a pollution. It's not your fault. It's a sickness. It was put there deliberately. So pluck it out. Now you know. Now you are accountable. Be well. Much love.